What's happening, everyone? Art at Patience Metal Fab, and you're back with me in another episode of our Group B rally car build. Now, in the last episode, which I'll throw in the description, we did a bunch of work to it, including putting in a couple dozen reinforcement plates that came with the car, and then a few custom ones that we had to make. Now, if you recall, we just tacked those in. I think a good way to start this episode is to catch up with Ben, who's about ready to do final welds on all of those. Now, we also have to do a couple miscellaneous things, which Andrew's going to hop in as soon as Ben is done. And then eventually, if you remember, we've got a full cage in there, but it's only tacked in. We got to break all of that apart because that car is going to go off to blasting and epoxy, and then eventually get it back here to reassemble the cage and do final welds on that. So we've got a busy episode. I think we should get out there, see what Ben's up to, and get started on today's build. Now that most of those reinforcement pieces are attached, we were able to use the rotisserie to swing the car sideways. That way Ben can get in here and do the finishing welds on them. You can see that Andrew has tacked them in, and there's a bunch of them. Let me just count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Couple on the underside, and then double on the other side. So we're talking about 20 some reinforcement plates. They were really serious about reinforcing this car for Group B rally because it was never really meant to take that kind of punishment. So the chassis had a lot of flex, and in the case of an accident would really just crumple. So all of these, in addition to obviously the cage, which is going to be the main reinforcement on this car, are really making it into a rally vehicle. If you're watching this video series, you're probably an enthusiast for these cars, so you may have seen the rear section of how it's all put together. Now, typically with the engine back here, there's a firewall or a cover that goes flat, and then it takes a 90 and goes all the way down here. The difference is with the Group B rally cars, the firewall went all the way back to the hatch here, but our rails don't. So what Andrew's done is he's cut the original ones out, and now he's extending them. And I want to show you what setup he came up with.
From the factory, in here we see that there's actually two pieces. It's kind of hard to see, but so I've made them two separate pieces. They will get welded together as one piece and then get drafted into the car to extend the tray.
Andrew over here is working on getting some of the components like the doors and trunk ready for blasting as well, and then wrapping up things like the glass window right there, basically just in preparation for this vehicle to be gone for a few weeks. I see Brian rolling up with his trailer, which means the Renault Group B rally car is just about to head out to the blasters. That's probably a good way to wrap up this episode. Then the next one, I could start off with a little bit of footage of it getting all cleaned up and epoxied. And then eventually we're gonna circle back and get that car in here and start the reassembly process. Obviously we have to reassemble and weld in the cage, but then we have to deal with hundreds or even thousands of little items that are gonna go into that car. So we've seen the bare shell, but we haven't seen the suspension or the engine or the transmission or any of that stuff. So it's really gonna be an adventure going forward from here. If you guys are enjoying this series, please subscribe to the page, like the video, share it around, and we'll see you in the next one when that car is all clean and back at our shop.